What's up, everybody? Welcome back to this edition of Creating the Future with me, Dr. Brent Simpson. And today we are carrying on in our series where we are interviewing our pastors, because I know so oftentimes you don't get to know them personally, you don't know their backstories. And today we carry on in that with our very own Pastor Jeremiah.
What's
Super
up?
excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so your story is going to be a little unique compared to others because of so long that we've been together.
Yes.
But let's just start out right off the front with having some fun, okay? So right up front. What's your favorite breakfast cereal? You eat one cereal the rest of your life. What is Jeremiah McAnulty eating?
I've been really into Crave recently. It's like the golden thing with it's got chocolate in the middle.
Okay.
That's probably my go-to right now. If not that, then Cocoa Pebbles.
Cocoa Pebbles.
Cocoa Pebbles. I'm team Cocoa Pebbles. Yeah.
So Crave. I've not heard of Crave.
It's like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like golden on the outside and it's like filled with chocolate. It looks like little pillowcases.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right, check that out. Maybe one day I'll have some of that.
I don't think we're sponsored though, so.
Yeah. All right, so again, you are unique because if people don't know, your father is who?
Pastor Ken.
Yeah, Pastor Ken is your dad, and so you've kind of grown up in his household and in many ways around my leadership because of our previous church where I met your dad, and you were a little boy, and then coming over here to what was Brandon Assembly of God, now ARISE, and I've seen you grow up. So I know some of that story, but everybody else doesn't. So if you're going back to your childhood, where did you grow up? What did your childhood look like? Like, who was Jeremiah as a little boy?
I was born in Louisiana, and then raised here in Florida in the Lakeland area. And then we church hopped a bunch. I was a little knucklehead as a kid.
Okay.
We joke, my sister was an angel when she was a kid. And I was a troublemaker. I would mouth off and I had a wit about me and But I loved being at church, and of course my dad was a pastor, so we were at church all the time. And so I was a knucklehead, too smart for my own good, and just caused trouble, ran my mouth all the time. So my mouth got me in trouble a lot.
Okay. Yeah. And like your mom's a teacher.
Yes.
And so you were like in a lot of like high-end, IB later on programs, all of that too, right?
Yeah. So I was in like the gifted sort of program. I almost always went to the school that my mom was teaching at. Or like once I was in high school, I went to the school right next to where she was teaching.
Right.
And so, so I was always in like the gifted-ish programs, I guess. And so I would run my mouth, and I was cocky. I was arrogant about it, and I was a little turd about it. It was terrible. Yeah.
Let's jump forward to that a little bit. So teenage years.
Yeah.
Who is like you're a youth pastor, and we should have said that before.
I'm a youth pastor at the Riverview location. Yeah.
So who were you when you were a teenager? What were you like?
I was way more well-behaved because I wanted to look good and put up like, I wanted to be the right person because my dad was a pastor, and so I was like, I need to behave, right? Yeah. But I was still very arrogant because I was smart, and everyone always told me I was smart, and so I was still very arrogant about a lot of things. I was high achieving in every area, every subject, and I would go home and work my tail off. I remember when I was a senior in high school, my homeroom teacher told me I wouldn't be able to. I was incapable of learning Calculus 2. So I spent 4 months going home every night and teaching myself Calculus 2. And then I sat for the exam and aced it to prove him wrong.
Right.
And so, because I was just like, I am not going to be told I can't.
Right.
I'm not able to.
And like this morning we were discussing it because I was comparing you to John Lennox. Obviously, you're very young, and John Lennox is an old man and has a whole lifetime. But he was a mathematician who becomes an apologist. So you were in the route. I know we're jumping around a little bit, but in the route to become a mathematician.
I started a math degree. I have like 2/3 of a math degree completed. And so I'm like, if we're spelling the word mathematician, I'm the mathema.
Okay. So that's you. So you were always IB, like later on, that program, very high end.
I went to a tech school for college and all that stuff.
Florida Polytech, right?
Yeah, in
Florida
Lakeland.
Polytech.
Yeah.
All right. So when and how did you get saved? Growing up in a pastor's household, like what was that like for you?
It's kind of hard to put my finger on an exact moment. I remember there was like a kids' crusade where this is probably the first time I thought to myself, I'm making a decision to follow Jesus, but I didn't raise my hand. Like they did an altar call where they brought people to the front, and I thought to myself, I need to do that. And I made a decision to follow Jesus, but didn't take the step to go forward. And so that's probably when I was maybe 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I was at FAM at the time, so it would have been after when we were at Willow Oak together.
So after we were together there. And I should have mentioned this too, because I think this is kind of cool, because you're a youth pastor for us now. The reason you guys ended up at Brandon Assembly of God, now ARISE Church, was because of the youth ministry. Because when you guys were leaving FAM, First Assembly Mulberry, when you guys were leaving FAM, your parents were like, we need a youth ministry for our kids. And where do we go? And they knew that we would have a good youth ministry here because of my past youth ministry.
My first day at Brandon Assembly of God was actually a Wednesday night. We came on a Wednesday before Sunday because my parents, they can go to church wherever.
Right.
But they were like, my son, my daughter, they have to fit in. They need to be able to be in a good, healthy youth ministry. So
how old were you when you came?
12. I was 2 weeks after I turned 12. It's like March 2nd, March. It was early March,
So you were like just in youth ministry.
Yeah, I was like 6 months in youth ministry.
Yeah. That's awesome. And how old are you now?
23.
So what's that? You're the mathematician.
11 years ago.
11 years.
I'm coming up next year. I'm so excited. Next year is 50% of my life I've spent at this church, which is super exciting. I'll be 24. I'll have been here for 12 years next April. So
okay,
like mid-March.
All right. So you grow up. God's doing awesome stuff in your life. This is different because I feel like I've watched you grow up at a level that probably is different than most other people, period, especially on our staff. But what was your call to ministry like?
This one is fun. So because my dad's a pastor, I hated ministry. I didn't want anything to do with ministry. I was like, I know that it can be hard, and I know the long nights, and I know all the long day, everything. And so I don't want anything to do with that. I'm gonna go into math. And so, but then one day I'm at youth camp. I tell God, I'm like, God, I'll do whatever you want me to do except go into ministry. I'm not going into ministry. And he said, go to ministry school. And I was like, well, that's technically not ministry. Right. So I'm in ministry school. And then I go to a conference that November, and I had been in ministry school, and the pastor was awful. The preacher was terrible. And he was a good communicator and everything, but he just like abused scripture. And I was just like, man, I know, I'm a year into ministry school. I know this is wrong. Okay. But I prayed and I was like, God, I'm not going to let a bad communicator prevent me from hearing your voice. So whatever you tell me to do right now, I'll go do it. And I had a vision of, you know how little kids, they hold like their whole hand around a finger. It's the cutest thing ever. Of a man leading a little kid by the finger across a crosswalk. And God said, feed my sheep. And I was like, if that's not a call to ministry, dude, I don't know what is. So yeah, that was my call to ministry.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you met your wife around that time, after that time?
I met my wife, I met her when we were 12. Yeah,
I should say you guys started dating. Yeah. I mean, y'all grew up together here at the church.
Yeah. So, and we were friends growing up and everything. And then I met my wife we started dating like a week before I was called to ministry. Okay. Or like 2 weeks before I was called to ministry. It was like back to back. Yeah.
Because I've always seen you guys together in that to some regard. I remember when the revival was hitting here really heavy and watching you guys, I think you were already dating if I'm not mistaken, but praying for each other and praying for other students and things like that. And I remember even we're taking students upstairs to pray for them individually and some things that was really powerful at the moment. So yeah, that was your call to ministry. And then you've been on staff at ARISE for how long?
3 years.
So you've been on staff for 3 years. Yeah, you were really young.
I was 20. It was a month after I turned 20, 2 months after I turned 20. Yeah. You're crazy.
I know. We said, all right, kid, you got to watch over this boy.
Right.
But you're doing a great job. You're killing it. So, all right. So what has surprised you most about actually being in ministry now compared to like watching your dad in ministry and such?
I think that I've underestimated that ministry is, man, it takes and pulls at you. But how fulfilling the ministry is. These moments where I get to be with people and just watch God work in their lives, just how fulfilling it is for me to watch that happen in someone is probably the thing that I've underestimated the most about ministry. Yeah. That's a special moment every time.
Yeah, that's so good.
And the feeling doesn't go away. And I always think to myself, because at first it's a novel feeling, but the novelty of it doesn't wear away. Right. And it's probably the Holy Spirit just doing his thing, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And like Pastor Ken has talked about this at length, but he would be very concerned about you going into ministry, especially so young, but going into ministry anywhere else other than ARISE, because the culture is so healthy here. Yes. It allows you to flourish and protects you to some degree.
Yes.
That's just different than other places.
It's been interesting because sometimes pastors or people from the church will come with like church horror stories, and I'm like, I don't understand. I can't relate with that at all because
Hey, what's up, everybody? I hope you are enjoying today's show, but let me take a quick time out to remind you to like and subscribe. It helps us get this content out to so many more people, as well as do me a favor and leave a comment. I always enjoy reading your comments every single week. Now, let's jump right back into this great conversation.
I've ever remember really is this church. And so I just assumed that the church was healthy everywhere, all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about this because it's always funny because my kids will go away to what's called PK retreat.
Yes.
You've been a leader at PK retreat.
Yes.
You've gone to PK retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they go to PK retreat and my kids will come home and they're like hearing all these horror stories about how hard it is to be a kid in ministry and all this. And they're like, yeah, we don't really know anything about it.
We're kind of like just happy to be here.
Yeah. And it's been funny because like I remember one of those specifically, Ty, who, you guys were close friends, you're about the same age. Ty had already been through that, and then Elijah starts going to it. And I remember we were at Beef O'Brady's one night and Elijah's talking about this. And so Ty is then explaining it. And I just get to be the bystander.
Yeah.
And Ty's going, listen, that's just the way it is in other places. We don't really have that so much here. You're going to hear that stuff when you go. I just always thought that was cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay, so what's one moment in ministry already that you'll never forget?
Okay, so I hosted my first ever youth lock-in, and I was super excited for it. We did all the planning for it and everything, and when I was praying, I said, God, I want you to do something that if I were to tell the story, I wouldn't be able to explain or replicate.
Yeah.
And so I got up on stage at the very end of the lock-in, altar call, it's time for us to close. And I said, you know what? I just feel like right now, if you have a prayer language, I want you to start speaking in tongues. And apparently one of our sixth graders at the time, he walked up to his mom right afterwards, who happened to be there, and was like, I don't understand. Why was I babbling? And no one prayed over the guy. No one did anything. No one laid hands.
Right.
I said, if you have a prayer language, pray in your prayer language. And he was baptized in the Holy Spirit, spoke in tongues for the first time.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm just like, God, I don't even know how to put into words what's just happened.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. That's so ARISE. That's who we want to be. It's who we are, who we want to continue to be, where God just moves. And nobody can get credit for that. So.
I couldn't have explained it or replicated. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah. All right, so we've touched all over this already, but from your perspective, now how did you end up full-time ministry from your perspective here at ARISE?
One step at a time, I think.
Okay.
I mean, I was, when I graduated, I went straight to being a youth leader at 18 and then called into ministry. And then 6 months after that, I became our middle school director, which is like a volunteer staff sort of position.
Yeah.
And I was diving in, building teams, loving people, learning how to preach, running Bible studies, hanging out, everything I could sink my teeth into. I was at staff meetings, everything I could do. And then 9 months later, I went in, I was hired over at South Shore as our youth director 3 years ago. And then but I was part-time at first. And then 9 months after that, I got credentialed and some other life circumstances and everything and went full-time and became a pastor. And so it really, for me, has happened one step at a time. I was a student, I was a youth leader, like a volunteer staff, and then part-time and then full-time. And so I've taken gradual.
And part of that was getting married, right?
Yeah, I got married 2 months after I went full-time as a pastor. And so,
Yeah, because that was an important thing too. Because you're working with a lot of teenagers and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's definitely need to be married and
I'm a handsome guy. So
I remember you and I having some funny conversations where it's like, listen, like I need to make sure you guys are really getting married. You're like, you're not. There's no backing out last second or anything
married.
like that because like this is important that you're married in this position. So all right. So what do you love most about serving at ARISE?
The people. Easy. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. And I've heard that some of the things that we do isn't allowed at other churches. And like I said, I don't have context for that. But I remember we had a new hire, and there's a picture of Pastor Tina out in the staircase in the Wind Center. And he was like, I have this idea to print out a coffee cup and put it in her hand while she's praying.
She's like this.
She's like this. And then with the coffee cup, it looks like she's holding the coffee cup and praying and drinking the coffee. And he was like, do you think I'm allowed to do that? And I was like, that's so funny and miles away from our line here. Like that is so allowable. And so I just love getting to goof off and have fun and do the work of the ministry, man.
That's
awesome.
The best. I don't even know who did that.
That was Josh, Pastor Josh.
Pastor Josh. Okay.
It was like a month
I saw
after
that, but I thought it was hilarious.
So
but I didn't
funny.
know who did it.
Yeah.
There's so many of that. Any other fun stories? Any other things about like you just mentioned great people here, but what is that like? Any other stories? Yeah,
I mean, some of it's students. I love getting to watch, obviously, because I grew up as a student and then came on staff. So like the first group of sixth graders that I had they're like juniors right now, I think. And so I love getting to watch the students grow up. That's the best. And getting to hang out with them and they're so fun. And so.
if you do it long enough, and you're new, but if you do it long enough, there's a beautiful circle of life that you get to be part of.
Yeah.
Where you're watching people grow up, like you in this instance. I've watched you grow up. Now you're on staff. Sometimes you get to watch them. You're there when they get saved. You're there when they get baptized in water, baptized in the Holy Spirit. Then you're there marrying
when
them
they get married.
On. You watch them have children. Like there's a beautiful part of you kind of feel like the Lion King or something, watching your little watching your little kingdom grow up, right?
Yeah.
The circle of life happen. Yeah. Okay. What do you love most? I asked that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then the last question here, not the last, but second to last. If you could sit down with somebody from the church and have coffee and you're just hanging out, what do you hope they walk away like thinking about you, like knowing about you?
Knowing about me, that I love them, that I'm in their corner, that I want what's best for them, even if it's hard, especially if it's hard. That at the end of the day, I'm going to say the hard thing to them, and I'm going to just be in their corner and pushing them to get better.
Yeah.
Because we don't have time to waste. We don't have time to waste.
Right.
We've got to be on the growth process in that. That's awesome. I think. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, last question, a fun one. What's one thing about you that most people don't know that might surprise them about you?
I sing.
Okay.
I love to sing.
Yeah.
I've never been on like our worship team or anything like that. My dad sings too, but don't tell him I said that.
He sings occasionally, like men's conference or something.
Oh yeah, that's true. Do you remember when you did the quartet thing for Valentine's Day? Yeah. And so I sing. I love to sing. If you catch me in the right mood or like in the right zone of work, I'll be singing. And so it's like I love it so much.
What music? What are you singing when you sing?
Oh, mostly worship. But
if you were singing non-worship, non-Christian music, what would it be?
Yeah, Jeremiah, be less Christian. No, my wife and I love oldies. Like,
see, because you're young. What do you call oldies?
I love you for sentimental reasons.
Okay.
I love you for sentimental reasons.
Okay.
Like, dude, fantastic. We love that stuff.
Okay.
So. I think that counts as oldies,
because you're going to make me feel really old. You call oldies,
I say something like that.
And you're saying something from like 90s or something. You're like, oh yeah, you're making me feel real bad.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's so awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. I hope everybody who watched this, it's been beneficial for you to get to know Pastor Jeremiah a little bit. I know he is a huge blessing to our church. We're excited to have him with us and excited to continue to see what God does through him. Because you're just getting the journey started and the growth is growing like crazy, but there's so much more to go. And like I say with all of you guys, I want your ceiling to be my floor. So let's make it happen.
Beautiful.
With everybody, if you made it this far, make sure that you like, subscribe if you haven't done that. Leave us a comment. Leave a question for Pastor Jeremiah. That'll be fun. And then maybe there's a student or somebody that you want to send this to, just so they get to know who the youth pastor, who their youth pastor is. So we look forward to seeing you again next week as we continue on these conversations with our staff pastors.